So let us begin with another session of Leg Felinum and Lac Vaccinum from the Allen's keynotes. Good to see someone named as Samiksha and few YouTube viewers and someone Dr. Sahin Shah who has joined. So normally we are used to giving polycrest remedies and we have a lot of dependence on polycrest remedies. But how much we will depend on polycrest remedies, there will be a limitation, and we will need to get out of this comfort zone of polycrest remedies sometimes to prescribe other remedies. And the newer remedies, especially the lag group, are a very tricky remedy prescription in practice, and to understand it we need to find out the essence of the lag group and then prescribe. So for example, for lag can, lag defloratum, we have seen few very marked symptoms, and those same symptoms continue in the lag felinum and lag vaccinum. The main symptom is confusion of mind or depression like feeling. So all the people who land up at your desk with these symptoms or expressions of these symptoms, you can think of prescribing lac group of remedies. Let's go over lac felinum and lac vaccinum to understand how it is evolved in these two remedies and what are the sphere of action apart from the mind which are affected. So glad to see Dr. Poonam Homeopathy also to join again after many days. Uh, we are today taking lac felinum, lac vaccinum from the Allen's keynotes. First remedy we'll take is lac felinum. Lac felinum is a remedy which is mentioned in Allen's keynotes as having great depression of spirits, very cross to everyone, fear of falling downwards but without vertigo, and there are a lot of mental illusions that there is some furniture, something which is running into her eyes or getting her, making her crazy. All these thoughts are nothing but manifestations of the psychotic miasm or the psychosyphilitic miasm which we see in all the lag group of remedies. And as I conveyed earlier in the initial part of the video, lag group of remedies are very tricky remedies to prescribe in practice, and you will need to get out of your comfort zone. Calcarea phosphorus, Calcarea phos, Pulsatilla, Sepia, etc., to prescribe lag group of remedies. One of the major indications for lag group of remedies that you will see as a theme would be that they are oppressed by someone as an authority in their family or in their workplace. Once you understand this, it will be easier for you to decide the group, and then you can decide the certain remedy which is lac can, lac defloratum, lac felinum, lac vaccinum, etc., based upon the sphere of action. Lac felinum will basically act on the GIT, on the extremities. Lac vaccinum will again act on GIT and little bit on the skin. So we are considering lac felinum as the first remedy to discuss. Lac felinum, as I told, there is lot of depression of spirits, fear of falling downwards, and illusions that something is pointing or running towards her, and there is asthenopia due to these illusions that it always has. So glad to see Dr. Sonali Patil, Monica Vashishta, some regulars, Dr. Prince Gupta, someone new, and a few viewers on YouTube. And to get out of the comfort zone is very tough. To get out of the comfort zone of the polycrest remedies is really tough, and lag group of remedies, or these remedies which are newly discovered, like say around 100 years, not by Hahnemann but by the stalwarts who were later in the homeopathic field, needs to be read upon and understood from the case prescriptions and from the materia medica clinical notes that these authors have given. For lac felinum, Ellen gives there is lot of headache, especially on the left side of the head. Everything on the left side is affected. Just like spigelia, you will see that lac felinum is affected on the left hand side. There are vague feelings like weight on the vertex, or crawling on the top of vertex, and there is burning on the left eye near the temple region, and it's a case of keratitis which Ellen mentions. Going further, we have eye complaints of lac felinum, which is sharp pain through the center of the eyeball and causing profuse lacrimation. So we always tend to think of lacrimation remedies, but coming to lac felinum will be from the thematic point of view, that there is some oppression or domination at their workplace or in their home, which makes you feel that they are oppressed, or they are kind of put down and not allowed to share their identity. In the lac can and lac defloritum, if I've discussed earlier in the Allen's keynote sessions, if you have seen, you will remember that these remedies are very similar to magnesium group. Once you understand these similarities, you will be in an easier position to prescribe remedies and reach to the remedies apart from the constitutional or the polycrest remedies, which are always our comfort zones. So for lac felinum, we have something interesting, which is let us run together. There are all kinds of illusions that you see in lac felinum. On the mental aspect, we saw the illusion that there is some object or some furniture which is running into her eyes, and on the eye per se symptom, we will see that there are objects which are running together, or dull pain, aching with the visual disturbances. And what you see is pain which is there, photophobia is there, all the common symptoms are there, but especially the left side is affected like spigelia. And what you see is a clinical note mentioned by Ellen from the Dr. Swan, who have had great success in prescribing lac felinum, especially when there is severe pain in the back of the orbit indicating choroiditis. So we always tend to think of many remedies, spigelia, or Kali group of remedies, or chininum remedies, chininum sulf per se also for eye complaints I have given, carbonium sulf I have given to one patient. For eye complaints, lac felinum can be given a thought if the symptoms are on the left hand side. And going further, you have GIT symptoms, which is a vague taste in the mouth, and salivation is there, which is excess, and the tongue is very much enlarged and teeth is serrated on the tongue. We see the same symptoms in podophyllum, we see in chelidonium, we see in Merksol. And from the throat, we see that there is posterior nares, cough which keeps on going down, and in the gastrointestinal system, there is very much lack of appetite and great desire to eat paper. Now, we have this symptom very much prominently in certain children. They eat dust, they eat mud, they eat chalk. Similarly, if they are eating paper, we can think of lac felinum very strongly. And what you see is in lac felinum, there is lot of gastric symptoms, especially in the pelvis area, and as if the parts would fall about, or there is, she couldn't walk and aggravated by standing, also needs to keep lying or sitting, and there is frequent desire to urinate, and there are some symptoms of leukorrhea and furious itching in the female genitalia, which have been mentioned by Ellen. And last but not the least, there is left-sided affections again of the extremities, especially the left hand, left wrist, left finger, and left foot, which is aching all the time. And there is nervous trembling of the hands, especially as we see in drunkards. So whatever is there on the left hand side, people are oppressed by workplace, by home situation, or there is gastric symptoms which you can clearly see, no appetite or desire for paper or some vague things, and some pain centered around the pelvis region, bearing down sensation like lilium tigrinum. You can think of lac felinum, which is very under prescribed or never prescribed by homeopaths. Going next over lac vaccinum, we have great nervousness or again depression of spirits. So like we see in lac felinum, lac and lac defloratum, all the patients have been oppressed, all the patients have been suppressed by the situation in their home, in their workplace, or someone who is dominating in their life. And because of this, they develop this lack state, which is they become a servant to that person. That is where you should think of lack group of remedies. Otherwise, thinking of lack group of remedies from the symptoms point of view, subjective or objective, will be difficult. You will have to think about these remedies from the thematic point of view. And there are various remedies we can think from thematic point. There are various remedies we should think of from the symptoms point. Good to see depth of homeopathy and homeo health corner also to join today's Instagram live. So we are discussing lac vaccinum next. Now depression of feels as if he would hear bad news, mental prostration and mental confusion. In all the lac group of remedies, you will see that there is lot of confusion, lot of dilemma to do or not to do. They are always in this tug of war, which you will see. If you have understood this aspect from the patient's expression or from their relatives, you will be in a better position to prescribe lac group of remedies. Next, you have again lac vaccinum affecting the gastric system. There are very single line symptoms in head, eyes, ears, mouth, which I am not taking over. But if you see in the gastrointestinal system, there is some sort of pain around the umbilicus, again like we saw in lac felinum, but it proceeds from the sternal area, and there is lot of borborygmus sounds in the abdomen, which is the passage of gas from the one end to the other end, and there is obstinate constipation. So lot of lac group of remedies you can think very strongly in all the gastric cases. And there is excessive flatus, which is bad smelly in nature. Lac vaccinum can be indicated. Nausea of pregnancy with desire for food, good appetite and nausea during pregnancy, you can think of lac vaccinum. There are few patients who will tell you that there is, by taking cold milk or by taking milk, my menses were about to appear but suddenly they disappeared, or I don't remember, there was some change in my diet which I did. That's where we should think of lac vaccinum. It's not easy to prescribe medicines to patients who have amenorrhea or suppressed menses. What we need to find out is what was the change in their routine which they did from the last menses to the next menses which were appearing, and around the date of that new next menses that was appearing. That is where we will be able to find some causative factor and prescribe the remedy which is indicated. For lac vaccinum, it is drinking milk which suppresses the menstrual flow. Next you have is on the skin, there are some symptoms which are brown crusts or have a greasy appearance, especially in the mouth region, and there is some sort of pain in the chest, abdomen, hips, thighs, knees, on all sides, or wandering pains, which are what we see in pulsatilla also. So in short, lac vaccinum and lac felinum can be thought in cases which are dominated by people around their home, or someone who in their family is very strongly dominating, or in their workplace they have some gastric symptoms or left-sided symptoms in lac felinum. and generalized gastric symptoms in lac vaccinum. And that's where you can think of these two remedies, very rarely prescribed, but we can think out of the box. We can, come out of the comfort zone of the polycrests and think about these remedies to prescribe in many different cases. That's what is about today's session. If it has helped you, let me know in the comments, and do share your insights and feedback so that we can continue this type of sessions, and something more interesting which will keep on coming on the profile. So you can stay tuned, and goodbye for the moment.